The night sky overburned red. Stopped walking and looked up. She had been searching for scraps in the old ruins, the same thing she did every night when the patrols were sleeping. Her bag was half full of broken metal pieces she could trade for food. But now she forgot about all of that. Something was falling from the sky. It was not a star. Stars did not scream like wounded animals. Stars did not leave trails of fire behind them. This thing was burning, spinning, falling fast toward the mountains in the distance. His grandmother had told her stories when she was young, stories about the prophecy that the temple keepers still whispered in secret. When the sky burns crimson and the stars weep fire, warriors shall fall from the heavens. They will be small and soft, yet carry thunder in their hands and fury in their hearts. They shall break the chains of the forgotten. Had never believed those stories. They had ruled for 300 years. Her grandmother had been a slave. Her mother had been a slave, was a slave. There was no prophecy. There was no hope. There was only survival. But she watched the burning thing crash into the mountains, and something in her chest moved. Something she had not felt in a very long time. She started walking toward the crash site. It took her 4 hours to reach the mountains. The path was dangerous in the dark, full of loose rocks and deep holes. Twice she almost fell, but she kept going. She did not know why. Something was pulling her forward. When she finally reached the crash site, she found a crater in the ground. Smoke was rising from it. Strange metal was scattered everywhere, bent and broken and still glowing hot. In the center of the crater was something that looked like a pod. It was cracked open like an egg. Climbed down carefully. Her 4 eyes adjusted to the darkness, and she could see movement inside the pod. Something was alive in there. She was afraid. They had machines that fell from the sky too. Maybe this was a trap. Maybe this was a new weapon they were testing, but she kept moving closer anyway. What she found inside the pod was not. It was small, much smaller than a soldier. It had soft skin, not scales. It had 2 eyes, not 6. It was bleeding from a wound on its head, and its breathing was weak and shallow. It wore some kind of armor, green and brown, with strange symbols on the shoulder. Had never seen anything like it. She reached out and touched its face. The skin was warm, soft, alive. The creature's eyes opened. Jumped back, her heart beating fast. The creature looked at her with those strange 2 eyes. It tried to move, but pain crossed its face and it fell back down. It spoke. The words were strange, nothing like the language or her own. But then it touched something on its neck, and when it spoke again, she could understand. "Where am I?" Did not know how to answer. She looked at this strange, soft creature from the sky, and she thought about her grandmother's stories. She thought about 300 years of chains. She thought about the red sky and the falling fire. "You are on," she said. "You are on a world that has been waiting for you." The creature closed its eyes again. It was losing consciousness. Knew she had to make a choice. She could leave it here to die. That would be the safe thing to do. If they found out she had helped something from the sky, they would kill her entire village. But looked at this small, soft, wounded thing, and she could not walk away. She pulled the creature out of the pod. It was heavier than it looked, but she was strong from years of carrying scrap metal. She put it on her back and started the long walk home. The creature woke up 3 times during the journey. Each time it said strange things she did not understand. Names of people, places, something about a mission. Then it would pass out again. By the time reached her village, the sun was rising. The others saw her coming and ran out to meet her. When they saw what she was carrying, they stopped and stared with all 4 of their eyes wide open. "What is that?" asked old Bora, the farmer who lived next to. "I do not know," admitted. "It fell from the sky." The village elder came forward. Everyone called her grandmother Ora, even though she was not related to any of them. She was the oldest in the village, and she was the one who kept the old stories alive. Grandmother Ora looked at the creature on its back. Her old eyes went wide. Her hands started to shake. "The prophecy," she whispered, "the warriors from above." "It is just one creature," someone said, "and it looks half dead." "The prophecy does not say how many will come," Grandmother Aura replied. "It says they will be small and soft. Look at it. Small, soft. The prophecy says they will carry thunder in their hands." She pointed to the strange weapon still attached to the creature's belt. "What do you think that is?" The villagers murmured among themselves. Some looked excited, others looked terrified. "They will find the crash site," said the young man who used to work in the mines before they closed. "They have sensors everywhere. They will come looking." "Then we must hide it," Grandmother Aura said. "Take it to my home, I will care for it." Carried the creature to Grandmother Aura's small house and laid it on the bed. Up close, she could see more details. The creature had hair on its head, dark and short. Its hands had 5 fingers like hers. Its face was flat with a small nose and thin lips. It looked weak, fragile, nothing like a warrior from prophecy. But Grandmother Aura sat beside it and started cleaning its wounds with old cloth and water. She worked with gentle hands and whispered prayers to gods that they had forbidden them to worship. "What if it dies?" asked. "Then it dies," Grandmother Aura said. "But I do not think it will. Look at its hands. See the scars. This creature has fought before. It has survived before. It will survive again." Looked at the creature's hands. Grandmother Aura was right. There were old scars there, white lines across the knuckles and palms. This was not a soft thing that had lived an easy life. This was something that had been hurt many times and kept going. The creature's eyes opened again. This time they were clearer, more focused. It looked then at Grandmother Aura, then around the small dark room. "Water," it said through the translation device. "Please." Brought water. The creature drank it all and asked for more. After the 3rd cup it tried to sit up. Pain flashed across its face, but it pushed through and sat against the wall. "My name is," it said. "I am a Marine. My ship was destroyed. I need to contact my people." "There is no way to contact anyone," Grandmother Aura said gently. "They control all communication on this world." His face changed. Something hard came into those 2 strange eyes. "Who are they?" "Our masters," said. The word tasted bitter in her mouth. "They conquered our world 300 years ago. We are their slaves." Was quiet for a long moment. He looked at her thin body and tired eyes. He looked at Grandmother Aura, at her bent back and hands. He looked around the small, poor room with its broken furniture and empty shelves. "How many of you are there?" he asked. "On this planet, millions," Grandmother Aura said. "In this village, maybe 200. Closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were different, colder, harder. "Tell me everything about them," he said. "Everything." Outside, far away, sensors detected the crash site in the mountains. A patrol was dispatched. They would arrive in 2 days. The prophecy had begun, but nobody knew yet what it would cost. Spent the first day listening. They told him everything. They told him about the invasion 300 years ago, when the ships filled the sky like angry clouds. They told him about the wars that followed, wars they lost badly because they had never learned to fight. They told him about the generations of slavery, the mines and factories where their people worked until they died, the public executions for small crimes, the children taken away to serve in distant parts of the empire. They told him about hope dying slowly, year after year, until nothing was left. Listened to all of it without saying much. His wounds were healing fast, faster than Grandmother Aura had ever seen. By the 2nd day, he could walk. By the evening, he was climbing the hill outside the village to look at his crashed pod through a stolen scope. "The beacon is damaged," he told when she followed him up the hill. "I might be able to fix it, but I need parts from the pod." "The patrol will reach the crash site tomorrow," said. "Maybe sooner." "I know. What will you do?" Lowered the scope and looked at her. His 2 eyes were strange to her, but she was getting used to them. She could read emotions in them now. Right now, she saw calculation. He was thinking, planning, measuring risks. "I will go tonight," he said. "Get what I need and get out before they arrive. I can guide you. I know the mountain paths." Shook his head. "Too dangerous. If I am caught, I am just one stranger. If you are caught with me, they will burn your whole village." Wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. The punished groups, not individuals. One person's crime became everyone's death. That night left alone. He moved differently than they noticed. He did not walk so much as flow, staying low, using shadows, making no sound. She watched him disappear into the darkness and wondered if she would ever see him again. She did not sleep. She sat outside her small home and watched the mountains and waited. He came back just before sunrise, carrying a bag full of strange equipment. His hands were cut and bleeding, but he was smiling. "Got what I needed," he said. "The beacon might work now, maybe." But there was no time to test it. The patrol arrived early. Not one day early, half a day early. They came in armored vehicles that floated above the ground, making a sound like angry thunder. There were 9 soldiers, tall and scaled, with weapons that could cut through stone. The village had no warning. By the time anyone knew what was happening, they were already in the square. Was in Grandmother Aura's house, working on his beacon, ran to warn him. "Stay inside," she said. "Do not let them see you. They will search the village and leave. They always do." But when she looked out the window, she saw something that made her blood freeze. The commander was dragging old Bora into the square. Bora the farmer. Bora who had given bread when she was hungry. Bora who told bad jokes and laughed at his own stories. "This one was hiding grain," the commander announced. His voice was loud enough for the whole village to hear. "Hiding food from the Empire. You know the punishment." 2 soldiers forced Bora to his knees. A third raised a pulse rifle. "No," whispered. "No, no, no." She felt movement behind her, was at the window now looking at the scene in the square. His face had changed. The calculation was gone. Something else was there now. Something dark and cold and very, very dangerous. "How many soldiers?" he asked quietly. "9. You cannot. They will kill you. They will kill everyone." "How many are watching the perimeter?" "Look, 2, 1 on each side of the square." Nodded. He checked the weapon at his belt. A small thing, black metal, nothing like the rifles. He checked a knife strapped to his leg. Then he moved toward the door. "Stop, this is not your fight." He paused with his hand on the door. He did not turn around. "I had a sister," he said, "back on Earth. When the colony wars started, she was on a world called New Haven. The enemy came. They did exactly what these are doing. They made examples. They killed people in squares while others watched." His voice was flat, empty. "I was too far away to help her. I arrived 3 days late, 3 days." He finally turned to look at. "I am not too far away this time." He opened the door and walked out. What happened next became a story that would tell for generations. Walked into the square like he belonged there. The commander saw him and froze in confusion. This small, soft creature with 2 eyes was not. It was not. It was something else. "What are you?" the commander demanded. Did not answer, he just kept walking forward, slow, steady, calm. The commander raised his pulse rifle. "Stop or I fire." Stopped. He was maybe 20 steps from Bora now. The 2 perimeter guards had noticed him too. They were moving closer, weapons ready. "I am going to give you one chance," said. His voice was quiet, but somehow it carried across the whole square. "Take your soldiers and leave. Do not come back." The commander laughed. The other soldiers laughed too. A small soft thing giving orders to the Empire. It was a joke, a good joke. "Kill it," the commander said. The soldier on the commander's left raised his rifle. Before he could fire, moved. Could not describe what she saw. It was too fast. One moment was standing still. The next moment he was somewhere else, and the soldier was falling with a knife in his throat. Caught the falling rifle and fired twice. 2 more soldiers dropped. Then he was moving again, rolling under a pulse blast, coming up behind another soldier, breaking his neck with his bare hands. The commander finally reacted. He fired at, hit him in the shoulder, stumbled but did not stop. He pulled his small black weapon and fired 3 times. 3 soldiers fell. 9 soldiers, 40 seconds, that was all it took. The commander was the last one alive. He was on the ground, holding a wound in his stomach, staring up at with terror in his 6 eyes. "What are you?" he whispered. Stood over him, bleeding from his shoulder, breathing hard. He looked down at the commander with those cold 2 eyes. "I am human," he said. "Remember that name, tell your empire the humans are here." Then he pulled the trigger. The square was silent. The villagers had come out of their homes and were standing in a circle around the dead. They stared at like he was a ghost, like he was a god. Bora was still on his knees, shaking, crying, alive. Grandmother Aura walked through the crowd. She stopped in front of and looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something that no had done in 300 years. She bowed. "The prophecy is fulfilled," she said loudly. "The warrior from above has come. The breaking of chains has begun." One by one, the other villagers bowed too. Watched them all go down, their silver heads lowered to this small, soft, wounded creature from the stars. Looked at them all. His face was unreadable. "I am not a god," he said. "I am not your savior, I am just a soldier." "That is enough," Grandmother Aura replied. "That is more than we have ever had." In the distance, alarms were sounding. The vehicles had sent emergency signals before the soldiers died. More would come, many more. But for now, for this one moment, the village of forgotten slaves stood in their square, surrounded by the bodies of their masters. And they were not afraid. The news spread faster than fire. Within 3 days, every village in the region knew the story. A warrior from the sky, a human. He killed 9 soldiers in 40 seconds. He moved like smoke and struck like lightning. He could not be stopped. Some said it was lies. Some said it was exaggeration. But then people started coming to see for themselves. They walked for days across dangerous territory just to look at with their own 4 eyes. They found a small creature with 2 eyes and soft skin, sitting in a village square, teaching farmers how to hold rifles. Had not wanted this. He told that every night when they talked. He was a Marine, not a leader. His mission was reconnaissance, not revolution. All he wanted was to fix his beacon and go home. But the beacon was still broken, and the response was coming. "They are sending a full garrison," reported. He had friends in other villages, people who watched the roads and counted soldiers. 200, maybe more. They will be here in 6 days. "How many can fight here?" asked. "Fight?" laughed bitterly. "We are farmers and scrap collectors. We do not fight, we survive." "Survival is fighting," said. "You have been fighting for 300 years. You just did not know it." He stood up and looked around the square. There were maybe 50 there, men and women of all ages, watching him with hope and fear in their eyes. "I cannot defeat 200 soldiers alone," said. "Nobody can, but 50 people who know how to fight, who know the land, who have something worth dying for. That is different. That is dangerous." An old woman in the crowd spoke up. "We are not warriors. We have never been warriors." "Neither was I once," pulled up his sleeve and showed the scars on his arm. "I was a boy from a small town. I worked in a factory. Then war came to my world and I learned to fight because I had to, because nobody else would protect my family." He lowered his sleeve. "You can learn too. Anyone can learn." "And if we lose?" someone asked. "Then you die fighting instead of dying on your knees. Is that not better?" The square was silent. They looked at each other and could see them thinking, weighing, deciding. Then stepped forward. Everyone knew. She was the blacksmith's daughter, a young woman with strong arms and a stronger will. Her parents had been killed in a culling 10 years ago. She had been watching from a hiding place. She had been 12 years old. Since then had never smiled. She worked in the forge, making tools and fixing equipment. She spoke little and trusted no one. Now she walked up to and looked him in the eyes. "Teach me," she said. "Teach me how to kill them." Studied her face for a long moment. Whatever he saw there seemed to satisfy him. "Pick up a rifle," he said. "We start now." The training was hard, harder than anything they had ever done. Taught them to shoot first. Most of them had never held a weapon before. Their hands shook. Their aim was terrible, but was patient. He corrected their grip, adjusted their stance, made them fire again and again until their arms ached. "The rifle is not a magic tool," he told them. "It is just a piece of metal that throws smaller pieces of metal very fast. The weapon is you. Your eyes, your hands, your mind. The rifle just helps." He taught them to move next. How to run without making noise. How to use shadows and rocks and trees for cover. How to communicate with hand signals when speaking was too dangerous. "They are stronger than you," said, "faster than you, better armed than you, but they are not smarter than you. They have never had to be. They have always won through strength. We will make them think. We will make them scared. We will make them make mistakes." Learned fastest. She had a natural talent for violence that surprised everyone except. He made her his second, teaching her things he did not teach the others. How to fight with knives. How to kill silently. How to read enemy movements and predict what they would do next. "You are angry," told her one night when the others were sleeping. "That is good. Anger gives you strength, but anger also makes you stupid. You have to use it like a tool, not let it use you." "How do you control it?" asked. "I do not," admitted. "I just point it in the right direction." By the 5th day, 50 farmers had become something like soldiers. Not good soldiers. Not yet. But soldiers who could shoot straight and move quietly and follow orders without asking questions. Gathered them in the square one last time. "The will come tomorrow," he said. "They expect to find scared villagers hiding in their homes. They expect easy killing. We are going to surprise them." He drew a map in the dirt with a stick. "Here is the main road. They will march straight down it because they think they have nothing to fear. We will let them. We will hide in the hills on both sides and let them pass. Then we close the trap." He marked positions on the map. "First group, you block the road behind them. Second group, you take the high ground on the left. Third group, high ground on the right. When I give the signal, everyone fires at once. We hit them hard and fast, and we do not stop until they break." "What if they do not break?" someone asked. "They will break," said. "Every army breaks when it starts taking losses it did not expect. They have never lost a fight on this world. They do not know how to handle it. We show them." The sun rose the next morning on a silent village. The streets were empty. The doors were closed. It looked abandoned. The garrison marched down the main road at noon. 200 soldiers in formation, moving with the confidence of conquerors. They did not scout ahead. They did not check the hills. They had been told this was just a cleanup operation. Kill some rebels, burn some villages, go home. They walked straight into the trap. Watched them from the high ground, lying flat behind a rock, his rifle ready. Beside him was counting soldiers under her breath. "Wait," he whispered. "Let them all get into the kill zone." They kept marching. 100 soldiers passed, then 150. Then the last of them entered the valley between the hills. Stood up and fired. The first fell before anyone heard the shot. Then the hills exploded with gunfire. 50 farmers who had never held weapons 2 weeks ago opened fire on the most powerful army in the sector. The formation broke apart in seconds. Soldiers ran for cover that did not exist. Officers shouted orders that nobody could hear. Bodies started falling, one after another after another. But they were not helpless. They were trained soldiers with superior weapons. They started fighting back. Pulse rifles lit up the hills, screamed as they were hit. The battle became chaos. Moved through the chaos like a ghost. He fired, relocated, fired again. He found wounded and dragged them to cover. He found isolated soldiers and killed them with his knife. He was everywhere and nowhere. Led the second group down the hill in a charge that caught them from behind. She was screaming, a sound full of 10 years of rage and grief, and her rifle never stopped firing. The battle lasted 6 hours. When the sun started to set, the surviving finally broke and ran. They left their wounded behind. They left their weapons behind. They just ran. Of the 200 soldiers who marched into that valley, only 37 made it out. The lost 19 of their own. 19 farmers and scrap collectors who had been alive that morning. 19 people who had families and friends and lives that were now over. Gathered the survivors in the square that night. They were exhausted, bloody, some of them crying. But there was something in their eyes that had not been there before. Pride. Today you were warriors, said quietly. Today you proved that they can be beaten. Word of this will spread. Every slave on this planet will hear about what happened here, and they will start to believe. Grandmother Aura stepped forward. Her eyes were wet with tears, but her voice was strong. The prophecy said you would carry thunder in your hands, she said. It was wrong. You gave us the thunder. You put it in our hands. Looked at her, then at all the tired, bloody, proud faces around him. "They will come back," he said. "More of them this time, many more." Checked her rifle and smiled. It was the first time she had smiled in 10 years. "Let them come," she said. "We will be ready." The High Command received the news with cold fury. 1 garrison destroyed. 163 soldiers dead. An entire sector in chaos because of a single alien and some farm slaves. This could not stand. This could never stand. The Empire ruled 47 worlds. If slaves on one planet could rebel successfully, slaves on every planet might try the same thing. The idea of resistance was more dangerous than any army. They sent Commander. Had conquered 40 planets in his career. He had crushed rebellions on 12 worlds. He was the Empire's most feared weapon, a soldier who had never lost a battle and never shown mercy. He brought 5,000 soldiers, heavy armor, orbital strike capability, enough firepower to turn the entire continent into ash. His orders were simple: kill every on the planet, leave no survivors, make this world an example that the galaxy would never forget. Learned about the invasion force 3 weeks before it arrived. His spy network had grown quickly, in other villages passing information through hidden channels, watching the roads and counting ships. 5,000, reported, his voice shaking, plus armor and air support. This is not a battle we can win. They were in the cave system that had become their headquarters. The resistance had grown to nearly 1,000 fighters now, men and women from dozens of villages who had heard the stories and come to join. But 1,000 farmers with stolen rifles could not defeat 5,000 professional soldiers. Looked at the map on the cave wall. He had been staring at it for hours, marking enemy positions, calculating distances, searching for weakness. "You are right," he finally said. "We cannot win, not in a straight fight." "Then what do we do?" asked. She had become one of his commanders now, leading a group of scouts who mapped enemy movements and found safe paths through dangerous territory. "We do not fight straight. We make this invasion so painful that the decide is not worth keeping." He turned to face the room full of fighters. They were watching him with trust in their eyes, trust he was not sure he deserved. "They want a quick victory," said. "They want to crush us in one big battle and go home. We will not give them that. We will spread out. We will hide. We will attack from shadows and vanish before they can respond. We will make them bleed for every step they take on this planet." Nodded, she understood immediately. Guerrilla warfare. Exactly. We hit their supply lines. We ambush their patrols. We assassinate their officers. We never fight when they are strong, only when they are weak. We make them afraid to sleep, afraid to eat, afraid to walk down any road. How long can that last? Someone asked. Was quiet for a moment. Long enough for them to decide we are not worth the cost. Long enough for them to go find easier prey. He paused. Or long enough for my people to find us. Your people are coming, asked with sudden hope. I do not know, the beacon might have worked. It might not have. But even if they received my signal, it will take time for them to respond. Months, maybe longer. We have to survive until then. The planning took 3 days. Divided his forces into small groups, each with their own area of operation. Who knew the mines and tunnels better than anyone, would lead teams through underground passages that they did not know existed, would coordinate intelligence, gathering information and passing it between groups, would lead the strike force, the most dangerous missions against high-value targets. Grandmother Aura organized the civilians. Even those who could not fight could help, hiding supplies, carrying messages, providing shelter for wounded fighters. The whole planet would become a weapon. When Commander's army arrived, they found empty villages. The farms were abandoned. The roads were silent. It looked like the population had simply vanished. Was not fooled. He had seen this before on other worlds. The natives were hiding, hoping he would lose interest and leave. He ordered his army forward. They would search every village, every cave, every hole in the ground until they found the rebels. The first ambush happened on the second day. A supply convoy was traveling to resupply a forward base. 20 vehicles, 50 soldiers, standard operation, safe territory. They never saw the attackers. One moment they were driving down an empty road. The next moment explosions were ripping through the convoy from both sides. Fighters emerged from hidden positions, fired into the chaos, then vanished before they could organize a response. 42 soldiers dead, all supplies destroyed, no rebel casualties. Received the report with cold anger. He sent a full battalion to secure the supply routes. The next day, 3 patrols were ambushed in 3 different locations, 27 more soldiers dead. The pattern continued. Every time sent troops somewhere, attacks happened somewhere else. Every time he protected one target, 3 others were hit. His army was like a giant trying to catch smoke with his hands. Strike force was the deadliest. They hit command posts, communication centers, fuel depots. They killed officers in their beds and vanished into the night. Within a month, had lost 6 of his senior commanders. He started keeping his army concentrated for protection. That made them slower, less effective, easier to avoid. The occupation was not progressing. His soldiers were exhausted and scared. The tunnels were the worst part. Teams would emerge from underground without warning, kill everyone in sight, then disappear back into the darkness. Sent soldiers into the tunnels to hunt them. Those soldiers never came back. 3 months into the invasion's army had lost 1,800 soldiers. They controlled the major cities but nothing else. Every road was dangerous. Every night brought new attacks. Called his officers together. We cannot continue like this, he admitted. It was the first time he had ever admitted weakness in his 40-year career. We are losing soldiers faster than we can replace them. The home world is asking questions. We need more troops, one officer suggested. There are no more troops. Every available soldier is already here. Stared at the map showing his scattered, bleeding army. We need to end this rebellion. One decisive blow. How? Another officer asked. They never stay in one place long enough to hit them. Thought about all the rebellions he had crushed before. They all had one thing in common. A leader. A symbol. Kill the symbol and the rebellion dies with it. The human, he said. Everything depends on the human. He trains them, leads them, inspires them. Without him, they are just farmers with guns. We have been trying to find him for 3 months. We have been trying to find him with soldiers. Now we try something else. Eyes were cold. I will challenge him directly, single combat, one-on-one. If he refuses, he looks like a coward and his legend dies. If he accepts, I kill him and his army falls apart. What if he wins? Laughed. It was an ugly sound. I have fought in 40 wars. I have killed hundreds with my own hands. This human is one small creature with soft skin. He will not win. The challenge was broadcast across the planet the next morning. Commander's voice echoed from speakers in every village, every city, every settlement. I am challenging the human called to single combat. Meet me in the ruins of the capital in 3 days. If you win, my army will leave this planet forever. If I win, your people will surrender peacefully and only the fighters will be executed. If you refuse or fail to appear, I will burn every village within 100 kilometers. Men, women, children, everyone. The choice is yours. In the cave headquarters, listened to the broadcast with a still face. It is a trap, said immediately. He will never honor those terms. I know. Then you cannot accept. Looked at her, then at all the fighters gathered around him. They had followed him for 3 months. They had bled for him, died for him. They believed in him. If I refuse, he burns villages. Innocent people die because I was afraid, shook his head slowly. I cannot let that happen. If you go, you might die, said. Her voice was shaking. We cannot lose you. We are not ready. Smiled. It was a sad smile, but also proud. You have been ready for a long time, he said. You just did not know it. Whatever happens in that arena, the rebellion will continue, will lead you. She is better at this than I am. He stood up and checked his weapons. A rifle, a knife, a pistol with 12 rounds. I am not going there to die, he said. I am going there to end this war, one way or another. Outside, the sun was setting red over the mountains. Somewhere in the distance, Commander was preparing for the battle that would decide the fate of a world. And started walking toward the capital. The capital city had been beautiful once. His grandmother had told her stories about it. Tall white towers that touched the clouds. Gardens full of flowers that glowed in the moonlight. Streets made of polished stone where children played and artists painted and musicians filled the air with songs. Now it was ruins. They had destroyed most of it during the original invasion, 300 years ago. What remained was broken walls and empty streets and ghosts of what had been. This was where had chosen to fight. The arena was the old ceremonial square, a circular space surrounded by crumbling pillars. Soldiers lined the edges, thousands of them, watching with hungry eyes. Cameras broadcast the scene across the planet. Every with access to a screen was watching. Stood in the center of the arena. He was massive, even for a nearly 3 meters tall, covered in thick scales that could stop most weapons. He wore ceremonial armor that had been passed down through his family for generations. In his hands he held a plasma blade, a weapon that could cut through metal like paper. He looked like a god of war. Walked into the arena alone. He looked small, fragile, human. He wore his old Marine uniform, faded and patched from months of fighting. He carried his rifle on his back, his knife on his belt, his pistol at his side. No armor, no special weapons, just a soldier's tools. The soldiers laughed when they saw him. This was the demon who had killed their friends, this soft little creature. Did not laugh. He studied with careful eyes. He had seen too many battles to underestimate any enemy. You came, said. His voice echoed across the silent square. You knew I would. I know you will die today. Looked around at the thousands of soldiers watching them. He knew this was a trap, had no intention of honoring any agreement. Even if one that would attack, the cameras would be shut off. The rebels would be hunted down and killed. But had known that from the beginning. He had come anyway. Let us find out, said. Charged. He moved faster than something that big should be able to move. His plasma blade swept down in a killing arc, trailing blue fire through the air. A direct hit would cut in half. Was not there. He had rolled left before the blade even started moving, reading's body language like a book. His rifle came up, and he fired 3 shots at its exposed side. The scale stopped 2 bullets. The third found a gap in the armor and drew blood. Roared in pain and surprise, first blood to the human. The watching soldiers went silent. The fight became a dance, was stronger, faster, better armed. Every swing of his blade could be fatal, but was always somewhere else, always moving, always finding angles that did not expect. He fought like water, thought as she watched on a hidden screen in the cave headquarters. He flowed around every attack, never meeting strength with strength, always finding the weakness. But was learning. He was a veteran of 40 wars. He had fought enemies who moved like this before. He started predicting movements, cutting off escape routes, forcing him into corners. 6 minutes into the fight, his blade caught across the chest. Not a killing blow, but a deep cut that sent blood spraying across the stone floor. Stumbled, pressed forward, sensing victory. The next 30 seconds were the longest of his life. He blocked and dodged and retreated, bleeding badly, his vision starting to blur. Was relentless, his blade a constant wall of blue fire that gave no rest. Then made a mistake. It was small, a slight overextension on a thrust, leaving his left side exposed for half a second. Any normal fighter would not have noticed. Any normal fighter would not have been fast enough to exploit it. Was not a normal fighter. His knife was in his hand before he knew he had drawn it. He stepped inside its reach, under the killing blade, and drove the knife up through the gap in its armor. It sank deep into his throat. The arena went silent, stood frozen, the plasma blade slipping from his fingers. He looked down with something like confusion in his 6 eyes. "How?" he whispered through a throat full of blood. "You are so small, so soft." Twisted the knife. His eyes went empty and he fell. For a long moment, nobody moved. The thousands of soldiers stared at their fallen commander in shock. The greatest warrior in the empire, killed by a creature half his size. Then spoke. "This world is free." His voice was weak from blood loss, but the cameras carried it everywhere. Every on the planet heard him. "And it will stay free. Not because of me, because of them, because they chose to fight, because they refused to be slaves. I showed them the door. They walked through it." The commander who had taken over after gave the order to fire. But before a single soldier could raise his weapon, the ground exploded. Had not trusted to honor any agreement either. While fought, she had led 1,000 fighters through tunnels directly under the arena. Now they emerged like demons from the earth, firing into the shocked ranks from every direction. The battle was chaos. They had numbers and weapons, but they were confused and leaderless. Their commander was dead. Their soldiers were scattered, and the who attacked them fought with the fury of 300 years of slavery. Reached in the middle of the fighting. He was on his knees, bleeding badly, barely conscious. She pulled him behind a broken pillar and pressed cloth against his wounds. "You stupid, brave, impossible creature," she said, and she was crying. "Why do you never think about yourself?" Smiled weakly. "Where is the fun in that?" The battle lasted until sunset. When it ended, 2,000 were dead and the rest were running. They fled to their ships and left the planet, not because they were ordered to, but because they had no will to fight anymore. Their commander was dead. Their army was broken, and the slaves they had come to slaughter had turned into warriors. 3 days later, was free for the first time in 300 years. Almost died from his wounds. It took Grandmother Aura and every healer in the region 2 weeks to save him. For most of that time, he floated in and out of consciousness, dreaming of Earth and his sister and a life that seemed very far away now. When he finally woke up properly, was sitting beside his bed. "They are gone," she told him, "all of them. Word is spreading to other slave worlds. They are calling it the chain-breaking war. Other planets are starting to rebel." Closed his eyes. Good. "What about you? What will you do now?" It was a question he had not let himself think about. For 3 months, survival had been everything. Fight today, survive tonight, fight tomorrow. He had not allowed himself to imagine a future. Now there was a future, and he did not know what to do with it. "I could try to go home," he said slowly. "If my beacon worked, if my people come, they could take me back to Earth." "Is that what you want?" Thought about Earth, his factory job, his small apartment, his quiet life. Then he thought about the silver-skinned people who had become his family, the fighters who had died trusting him, the war that was just beginning. "No," he said, "this is home now if you will have me." Smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine, the first one she had given since she was 12 years old. "We will have you, we will always have you." 1 week later, a Republic scout ship detected an old distress beacon from an uncharted sector. They sent a team to investigate, expecting to find a dead Marine or an empty wreck. What they found was a revolution. The diplomat they sent to negotiate with the new government was surprised to find a human at the table. A tired, human with 2 eyes and soft skin, and a reputation that had already spread across 17 star systems. "We thought you were dead," the diplomat said. "I was busy," replied. The Republic signed an alliance that day. It was the first of many. Over the next decade, the tactics that had taught, the guerrilla warfare and the tunnel networks and the refusal to ever stop fighting, spread to world after world. 17 planets broke free from the Empire using the same methods. They called it the chain-breaking war, and it changed the galaxy forever. Never returned to Earth. He stayed on, training the next generation of fighters, preparing for the battles that were still to come. He watched become a general. He watched become a diplomat. He watched tunnels become legendary, studied in military academies across the Republic. He watched slaves become free. He died 40 years later, an old man surrounded by people who loved him. They buried him in the mountains, where his pod had crashed so long ago, where the prophecy had first become truth. His grave marker was carved in both script and human letters. The words were simple. "He fell from the stars, he taught us to rise." People came from across the planet to visit it. Some came from other worlds too, slaves who had heard the stories and found the courage to fight because of them. They left flowers and prayers and thanks for a small, soft creature who had changed everything. The prophecy had spoken of warriors from above, but it had gotten one thing wrong. The warrior did not save them. He showed them how to save themselves. And that was worth more than any prophecy could have promised.